Welcome, folks. I am Jaby Koay, joined by Achara KIRK.
What's up?
We're looking at new Rockstars Marvel What If Episode 6 breakdown, Easter eggs, and details you missed. This time it's being hosted by MT, apparently. This is exciting. The other guy from New Rockstars with the knowledge to educate us today about what we didn't understand, what we missed. So we have our reaction to What If you guys want to see that. A quick recap of our feelings for Episode 6. I thought it was interesting. I did not love the episode.
I thought it was cool. It certainly wasn't my favorite. It was very frustrating. I was very, very frustrated.
Frustrated.
I was so frustrated I can't talk properly.
Yeah. But it was definitely interesting. I still think that the two previous episodes before that were my favorite. However, I do suspect that a lot of what we're seeing in What If is going to inform what we're going to see in the upcoming MCU films. So
I think so.
All of it is important nonetheless, and so we need to get educated. Thank you, New Rockstars, for allowing us to react to this. You guys, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, bell icon, all notifications, and vote this video up to let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. It's me, MT, and this is a breakdown of episode 6 of What If, where Black Panther fans everywhere are given the treat of the return of Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger to the MCU, in a scenario where Killmonger was the one to save Tony Stark in Afghanistan, rather than Tony being saved by a box of scraps, you know, like a normal person. But let us go ahead and get into all those neat little Easter eggs and things that you could have missed from this Iron Man-ass Black Panther crossover episode, shall we, my beautiful nerd babies? I think we shall. And right off the bat, we start off the episode with Uatu the Watcher stating, "Every journey has a beginning," and Jeffrey writes, "deeply mysterious, sultry voice that his mama gave him." Before we watch The Watcher, watch over the very beginnings of our journey through the MCU through the recreation of the very same opening shots from Iron Man 1 from right before Tony Stark's military convoy is attacked in the Kunar province of Afghanistan, with a few exceptions here and there. Like how the soldier named Jimmy, who asks Tony for a picture, holds up a camera in What If, but in the movie, he doesn't grab his camera until after Tony says it's okay. And also how the bullet holes that end up murdering poor soldier Jimmy shortly after are slightly different than in live action. Like it has a different spread. And you know, I've got to say it, but there was a glaringly apparent lack of both AC/DC's Back in Black and references to MySpace.com like we got in the live action movie, which is rude. Tom was your friend too, Marvel. Tom was your friend too. And after Tony does a skedaddle out of the convoy, we do notice that animated Tony uses a flip phone while RDJ kept that sidekick thing on him. Because how else is he going to replace Terrence Howard Rhody with Don Cheadle Rhody in his MySpace top 5? Exactly. There's no other way.
So the MySpace thing, I forgot that was mentioned in Iron Man, and that's one of the things that always concerns me is like current references.
That will become dated.
That will become totally dated in
no one uses MySpace anymore.
Yeah, in just a few years. I mean, Justin Timberlake, I think, tried to revive it, but that went nowhere. So
yeah. That's
the whole thing that I notice sometimes that concerns me. We know Facebook's gonna be around. We know Google's gonna be around. Right?
We think
YouTube's gonna be around. Oh, we're here. So those are the kinds of references that maybe will stand the test of time. But something like MySpace,
I guess they thought MySpace was gonna be around, and it totally made sense at the time.
We don't know if TikTok is gonna be around or Snapchat. We have no idea if these companies are gonna stick. I always get like wary about stuff like that, or even with music sometimes, like using music that's too modern in a movie. I'm like, okay, is that dating the film immediately? Like in 10 years, are we still gonna watch this the same way? You know what I mean?
I feel like sometimes it can be very charming to do that because it's almost like a time capsule. Yes, you've placed the movie in a time capsule, but sometimes we like watching 80s movies and they feel incredibly nostalgic because of all of those lovely 80s things that we love.
Right. We watched The Matrix with Raw 2.0 and that music was definitely dated. We watched it in theaters right before pandemic and I was like, wow. Okay.
Good God, Iron Man 1 is basically a period piece now. And then this leads us to our major Nexus event of the episode. Erik Killmonger yeeting the missile that would have embedded shrapnel into Tony Stark's body, forcing Tony to develop a miniaturized arc reactor and the first Iron Man suit to save his own life. And Killmonger's theme music from the Black Panther score plays in the background while Killmonger shoots and murders a ton of off-screen Ten Rings terrorists like this bitch had aimbot installed in his cranium. And I think that these animated movements could have been an intentional callback to that time where Everett Ross describes Killmonger's time in Afghanistan in Black Panther 1.
Joined the SEALs and went straight to Afghanistan where he wrapped up confirmed kills like it was a video game.
And I do really dig this quick shot of Tony grasping Killmonger's wrist as he helps him up, because I believe that this shot is supposed to reflect a Spartan handshake, to represent the new alliance/bond that these two now have together.
Yeah,
and I also
nice
really
reference.
love how we get to see Killmonger say that his name is a nickname in Afghanistan after Everett Ross alluded to him getting the nickname in Afghanistan in Black Panther 1. So it's cool to see that period when that name is like fresh because he just got it. And after the Watcher watches the beginnings of this very unfortunate new relationship, we get animated shots of the three most iconic moments of Tony Stark's journey as a hero in, the good universe. The forging of the first Iron Man mask in the cave, the formation of the Avengers in New York, and finally, his final sacrifice in Avengers Endgame. And I especially love how when Uatu says the word forge, that we do get the shot of animated Tony forging his suit. However, in this instance, when he's banging on the box of Scrappy mask in What If, I did notice that Tony's box of Scrappy reactor in his chest glows a lot brighter and wider than Robert Downey Jr.'s more subtle reactor in the movie. And also, this animated Tony doesn't seem to have the glow of a fire source coming from the right side of the frame like RDJ does in the movie. And also, while the iconic Avengers pan from the movie, of course, starts off with Hulk screaming at us at the camera in Avengers 1, here we see it start with Iron Man before the Hulk screams. So we kind of get a couple seconds before that iconic shot with Iron Man starting it off.
Is that to make it seem like Iron Man is more important?
One of the things that we had mentioned was, well, at least my confusion, because I thought that it was more focused on Iron Man, but it's not his episode. It was Killmonger's episode, right? It wasn't about necessarily their partnership. That was just a part of the story. The main point of the story was Killmonger's journey. And so that fed into the idea that, we're watching an episode about Iron Man. It was all part of the misdirection. As far as I can tell, that was just feeding into the misdirection. It was less of an artistic choice going, well, in this universe, it was more of, we need to focus in on Iron Man more to trick the audience into thinking this is an episode about Iron Man.
Sure.
Also, when animated Endgame Tony snaps, there's a lot more delay before the screen goes to white than there is in Endgame. But anyways, moving on, when Tony begins his press conference, he notes that the drink that he was holding on the convoy was actually a Macallan whiskey from the year 1926, a bottle of which in the real world recently sold for a whopping $1.2 million. So yeah.
Wait, hold on. Did he mean a 1926 Macallan or a 26-year-old Macallan? Because there's a big difference. I thought he meant a 26-year-old Macallan. Because, you get a Macallan 12. That wasn't from 2012.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought as well. I thought it was a 26-year-old Macallan. I didn't think it was from 1926. But the fact that it's Iron Man, it's entirely plausible that it's a 1926 Macallan.
Super bougie to be drinking in Afghanistan.
Well, not just that, but while the car's going and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's just super chill.
Just one glass of that alcohol juice is worth more than my entire life. But anyways, after Tony announces Killmonger as his new chief security officer for Stark Industries, a job that was originally given to Happy Hogan in our timeline in Iron Man 3, which is why we see an unhappy Hogan here, Christine Everhart, the very same reporter that Tony Stark spends a night with at the very beginning of the first Iron Man film, is the one to ask what exactly Erik Killmonger was doing in Afghanistan in the first place.
I remember that little love-making scene from Iron Man. I always thought that was a bit much. Just me personally, I don't know.
You don't need to see RDJ.
No, it's not that.
Her.
It's not that. It's just the action of it. It just felt like a bit much. This is very cartoony the way that they're doing.
Well,
this.
They were trying to establish him as this, this playboy.
I get that.
Certainly did that.
No, and then it was cartoony. But maybe that was the point.
With actress Leslie Bibb reprising her role as Christine. But not reprising their role for this episode is Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane, with the voice actor Kith Van Hoovel doing a pretty damn good job.
He did a really good job.
He does a fantastic
job. I thought it was him.
Capturing the exaggerated swagger of a greedy corporate executive who just got caught trying to assassinate the head of a major weapons company that Jeff Bridges just perfected in that role. That exaggerated swagger is just hard to replicate.
With a box of scraps!
And I freaking love this Monger matchup here with the Killmonger having taken down the Ironmonger by dropping all of Stane's 10 Rings tea online Black Widow style. Because Black Widow did that at the end of Winter Soldier like a boss. Tea Erik procured during his time undercover in the 10 Rings. And all of this while the heartbeat-like thud of Ludwig Göransson's Killmonger theme plays in the background yet again. And I literally cannot get enough of that shit because Ludwig Göransson is the man.
He is the man.
But anyways, after Tony Stark says a wildly inappropriate sex joke about Maxim models Coming for the King on the Disneyman.com, Tony Stark offers Killmonger Obadiah's job that Tony originally does give to Pepper in Iron Man 2 and says,
"You, me, will be like Butch and Sundance,"
which is, of course, a reference to the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, starring Hydra's very own Robert Redford, which is like another instance in the MCU where Tony Stark mentions a movie where a co-star of his also starred in.
If you haven't seen Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, one of the best movies ever.
I think I need to rewatch it because that's the movie with the song "Raindrops Are Falling on My Head," right? I remember that clearly from my childhood. Don't remember the movie at all.
The movie is so good. I watched it I watched it about 10 years ago for the first time as a grown-up, and I was like, oh my God, like this movie holds up. It's crazy because it actually moves along for a film from its time. Being a Western, I was like, oh, maybe it's gonna be really slow, kind of a drag, and it's gonna be like artsy fartsy. It moves along and it's got action in it. And it's like, oh wow, this is a really compelling movie. I recommend it for everybody if you haven't seen it yet.
I like that time Tony Stark mentioned The Big Lebowski in Endgame. And all this then leads us to seeing Pepper have a chat with Don Cheadle's James Rhode, marking the second time What If has inserted an MCU recast into their acting predecessor's MCU time period, with the first instance being Mark Ruffalo's Hulk replacing Edward Norton's Hulk in episode 3 of What If. And later, when Tony and Killmonger hang out in Tony's Iron Man 1 garage, Killmonger picks up a portable version of the Jericho missile that Tony Stark was apparently working on even before he originally demonstrated the real thing in Afghanistan. And like the design of it kind of reminds me of how S.H.I.E.L.D. miniaturized the Asgardian destroyer armor in Avengers 1. You know, the same gun that Coulson shoots Loki with before he dies like a badass. If I'm gonna go, I wanna go shooting an Asgardian asshole. And then shortly after, Killmonger quotes Howard Stark's line,
"That's right. Peace means having a bigger stick than the other guy."
My old man had a philosophy. Peace means having a bigger stick than the other guy.
And when Erik tells Tony that his dad was killed by gang violence, we already know that Michael be lying because we already done seen his dad get murdered by King T'Chaka in Black Panther 1. And Killmonger knew that his father was murdered by Panther claws.
I found my daddy with Panther claws in his chest.
And here at New Rockstars, we're fans of learning, whether it's about branch timeline
With Panther claws in his chest.
reaction, great way for us to do just that. A brilliant way, some would say. Places to get you the people. Instances are massive. And also, can we please talk off the annual premium subscription? So try Brilliant today. And also, can we please talk about how Tony already had access to MIT's doctoral thesis database when pulling up Killmonger's plans for the Liberator mechs? Because this definitely feels like both a reference to Tony Stark's affinity for MIT that we see in Civil War, but it also makes me feel that maybe, just maybe, we'll find out that Tony Stark was well aware of Riri Williams' genius before he passed away in Endgame when we see Riri at MIT in Wakanda Forever and her Ironheart series. I'm starting to get this weird vibe that Tony has been looking for a protege this entire time, which is why he's so readily accepting Killmonger as his like pseudo son.
Oh wow, that makes so much sense.
A young boy, like we haven't seen him yet in Iron Man 2, about to get shot by those hammer drones. But anyways, moving on, this anime Gundam inspired design of Erik's Wakanda liberating liberators was 100% inspired by actor Michael B. Jordan's deep love for the anime medium. You know, much like the design for Killmonger's entire outfit in Black Panther was revealed to have been designed with Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z in mind. Because us weebs are taking over the world! Which then kicks us off into a building montage with Tony and Erik, akin to the montage that we get in Iron Man 1 when Tony was first building his Mark II armor. But before this, Tony does mention
need FPV wiring, nano circuitry, and Bloody Marys. Hangover's starting to kick in.
Which kind of makes you see the wonders being a hero has done for Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony's alcoholism problem, which is, of course, something the character has historically struggled with a lot more in the comics.
Oh my
but
God.
in this universe, Tony seems to drink a lot more than we ever see him drink in the MCU. Like, he literally drops a glass of whiskey as he's dying. But anyways, while Tony and Erik are thinking of power sources for the mechs,
that shot right there,
the pizza
with the pizza,
it makes me really hungry because I really want pizza now.
I don't know if he's gonna say it, probably not, but it reminds me so much of a shot in Endgame when they're trying to figure out when the Infinity Stones are.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Eventually deciding on vibranium, much like Ultron did in Age of Ultron with his vibranium core for Sokovia. It kind of reminds me of that shot of Tony, Nat, and Bruce planning the New York time heist together. And I was also cracking up when Tony almost had the idea for a mini arc reactor.
If we could miniaturize an arc reactor, Oh, that's a dumb idea.
But anyways, Tony eventually recruits the help of Ulysses Klaue, the notorious Black Panther villain with a killer sound system for an arm that was originally introduced in Age of Ultron. And that's when Tony says that he met Klaue at a weapons conference in the past, where he found out about Klaue's interest in this hot new African rock that all the kids are talking about. It's gonna be all the rage. So this 2008 Tony reaching out to Klaue makes a lot of sense. And also, the office where the three talk about Klaue is a recreation of Tony's office from Iron Man 1, which is pretty fun. But anyways, when Rhody meets up with Klaue to make a deal at Klaue's same South African salvage shipyard from Age of Ultron, Klaue managed to procure a spear from one of Wakanda's Dora Milaje, which apparently are worth $10 million a pop. So, needless to say, Johnny Mayonnaise experienced the world's most expensive ass beating. Goddamn. But anyway, speaking of ass beatings, T'Challa, of course, gave a whole helping to Klaue's unfortunate partners in crime from the shadows, harkening back to that initial stealth scene of T'Challa stalking that convoy in the jungle in Black Panther. But unfortunately, as deadly as T'Challa was, both him and his MCU brother were killed by the hand of another MCU brother. A hand that was holding a new version of the Stark Industries sonic taser that, if you remember from Iron Man 1, was used by Obadiah Stane on more than one occasion. Like, I'm actually starting to wonder if Ulysses Klaue's arm in the MCU is based off of this sonic taser technology. And also, T'Challa dying by the hands of a sonic weapon at Klaue's place is definitely an allusion towards T'Challa's many dealings with the sonic-powered Klaue in the comics. Because in the comics, Klaue is essentially Black Panther's Joker. Like, that is his nemesis. But anyways, moving on, when T'Challa's body is being escorted by the Dora Milaje, the words Wakanda Forever can be seen written on his casket in the native lingo, which of course serves as a soft tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman. But anyways, when Tony is confronting Killmonger about the murder of his best friend Rhody, he pulls up a holographic model of the murder scene. If you remember, Tony also does this in Iron Man 3 when he recreates the sites of all the Mandarin bombings to play detective. But something I find really interesting after Erik kills Tony is the relationship between Killmonger and General Ross.
Did you think it was at all a little bit funny that when Iron Man got killed, it was in the shoulder?
Yeah, I did. I'm not gonna lie, I did. I was like, dude, what?
Is it like Hamlet? Like, is there poison at the end of that tip? Like, what's going on?
I don't know. Maybe he was just too drunk and then his blood was just like too thin or something, so it was coming out a lot more. And so he bled out sooner. But I mean, yeah, it's a shoulder wound. Yeah. No, but I mean, he got hit with some vibranium. So
with $10 million.
It went all the way through.
Because it kind of seems to mirror the relationship that T'Challa had with his military Ross. Because he had Everett Ross, and now Killmonger has asshole Ross. Not as much as Everett. Everett's a nice guy. So many Wakandan shenanigans to be done with a white Ross, let me tell you. Grab a white Ross today. But anyways, when Killmonger and Klaue arrive at Wakanda's doorstep, the last thing Klaue learns before he is shot is that he's been working with a Wakandan this entire time. The same Wakandans that he thinks are savages. And this is a lot like he did in the movie, which I thought was a nice touch.
You savages didn't deserve it.
However, unlike the movie, this Killmonger reveals his Wakandan lip tattoo outside as he approaches Wakanda, whereas in the movie, we don't get to see that Michael B. bottom lip until Erik kills Klaue. But anyways, shortly after this, we find out the badass Black Panther fact that Angela Bassett's Queen Ramonda was a freaking general of the Wakandan army, which makes a lot of sense considering that the Wakandan army is pretty much female dominated. And I very much love how both the King and Queen of Wakanda aren't afraid to get their hands dirty when they have to. Like, they're kind of like Odin and Frigga in that way. And when Killmonger's liberators finally breach through Wakanda's barriers to liberate Wakanda from Erik's family, we get to see the world's reaction to discovering the true opulence of Wakanda for the very first time through the eyes of General Ross. Undoubtedly giving this universe's Wakanda even more geopolitical enemies, because everyone wants that sweet-ass vibranium, and no one's gonna like finding out that this African nation is the most powerful and most technologically advanced nation in the world. And after that crazy final battle that ends with yet another subtle, tearful tribute to T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman by Queen Ramonda, we have Killmonger and T'Chaka enjoying a Wakandan sunset together in the same way that him and T'Challa did in Black Panther. But this time with Killmonger on his feet in victory rather than on his knees.
Oh, wow. What a nice callback.
Of course, trick his uncle into making him the next Black Panther. But instead of seeing his father in the ancestral plane, Killmonger has a contentious conversation with his cousin T'Challa instead. And man, I don't know about you, but seeing Chadwick Boseman as a Panther on that Panther tree hit me where I live, man, because it's really wild to think that Chadwick recorded this scene while going through all of that pain that he was going through himself. So rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. We really appreciate everything that you've done. And of course, the episode ends with Shuri and Pepper, the only smart people in this universe apparently, meeting up to potentially do something about their Killmonger problem, but not before Ross notes that they're ready to launch a bunch of Tony's crazy powerful Jericho missiles at Wakanda. I'm not sure what's going to happen next, but it's for sure going to be some messy shit. Though I do secretly hope that Shuri and Pepper team up to make Wakandan Iron Man suits, because let's be real, making an Iron Man suit, kind of science fair ass shit for Shuri. And Iron Man suits do not exist in this universe, so it'd be really cool to see Shuri come up with the idea for the Iron Man concept. But yeah, that is it for our breakdown for episode 6 of What If. What did you guys think of the episode? Let us know in the comment section below, my nerd babies. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. You can follow me at Mastertainment on Twitter if you want to see me tweet some weird shit. But most importantly, please follow New Rockstars on Twitter and YouTube.
I like him.
I like him a lot. I really, I enjoyed watching him do this. That was great.
I haven't watched, admittedly, much of New Rockstars videos besides Erik Voss's breakdowns. And so this was actually a really, really pleasant surprise.
No, he did a really great job. That was a really fun breakdown. I love his personality as well, and like his little funny jokes that he adds in there.
This is super cool. Like, it was very, very informative and entertaining, which is like a great combination.
Yeah, I mean, New Rockstars videos are always like very entertaining, I think, and informative.
I agree with you. There was some comedy gold in here, though. Like,
it's a different flavor.
Yeah,
you know?
There was some comedy gold. What are you trying to say, Charker?
It's different flavor, you know? I don't know, I liked it.
No, it was definitely, there was definitely some comedy gold in there that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Really, really great.
This actually made me appreciate the episode even more, because I came out of episode 6 going, that was all right. Like, that was cool. I didn't love it. Whereas seeing all like the little mirrorings and stuff like that, especially the thing at the end of it calling back to the Black Panther film where he's dying on his knees versus like standing in victory, like little things like that throughout, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it's making me appreciate it more. I just kind of wish that the episode was longer. That was the thing that ultimately I'm left with, is it was so fast. Like, there was a lot to appreciate there. For instance, when Black Panther's mom is like, you know, Wakanda forever. Well, she had the tear moment.
Yeah.
It's like, that flew by. I'm like, dang, like, let me feel this. You know what I mean? Because you know exactly what she's thinking and feeling. We feel it too. You know, because it's not just Black Panther dying in this episode. It's also Chadwick Boseman. It's like it's intrinsically
layered.
Linked. It's so linked. You can't disassociate the two, right? And so let me have that moment a little bit longer is all I'm saying. I feel like this could have been 40 minutes, at least 45 minutes, and people would have been like, I'm with it, you know?
Yeah, but that's not been the blueprint for the episode so far. I think maybe the longest one has been about 33, 35 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, I have one response to that. Who gives a fuck? Make it longer. Make it longer.
Well, then you make all the episodes longer.
Yeah, make them all longer. Like, let's have some fun here. It's what if. What if it was longer? You know what I mean? I think it was a 26-year-old McKellen. I think that they were wrong there. I don't think it was
would argue.
26.
I mean, a 26 McKellen would still be really expensive.
26-year-old single malt Scotch.
Yeah.
So it's not from 1926 when you say 26 McKellen.
I mean, like we said, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but I think
MT is wrong. Canceled. Fire him. I'm just joking, of course. I was convinced Jeff Bridges was back.
Yeah, me too. It didn't even occur to me that might not be his voice.
Yeah. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And do subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon, all notifications, and vote this video up to let YouTube know you enjoyed what you watched. And that's it. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
Achara KIRK.
Peace out.